entrepreneurs, and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Getting the Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub, which is a multi-platform media company specifically designed to assist the small business community with connections, gaining a voice and visibility in the community. Happy to be almost 7 years old and hanging in there through this crazy pandemic financial crisis that we're all in, but we're still hanging in there and happy to be with you each and every week, providing stories of hope and inspiration and a little bit of information and education, and just a great opportunity to talk with business owners in the community about what they're experiencing, and then also bringing in an executive leadership coach that can kind of talk us through leading through crisis and difficult times. So again, we're going to get to that in just a minute, but I'd love to thank our sponsors for allowing us the opportunity to be here with you today. Thank you to Pilot Bank and All Trust Insurance, your trusted employee benefits partner. Thank you so much. Thank you to WeBeam TV and the amazing, phenomenal team at Tampa Bay Multimedia. John Gaston and his team I've worked with for many years now. They've been great video partners to have and have produced the Getting the Edge show, now almost in our 5th year. If you're looking for your own platform, I know we're all looking for new ways to communicate with our clients, our customers, our patients, depending on the type of business that you have. John Gaston and his team can help you have a show similar to Getting the Edge and your own platform. So definitely reach out to them at tampabaymultimedia.com for more information. Again, highly recommend John and his team. As I mentioned at the start of the show, it has been a very difficult time for all of us, and we're all in this together. I know if you're like me at all, we're watching the news. We have more downtime and opportunity to do that. And it can be overwhelming. And so really what we wanted to try to do is, again, just provide an opportunity where we can talk with local business owners. And then the second half of the show, we'll bring in an executive leadership coach to talk a little bit about, again, just providing some insight on how leaders can handle leading through the crisis. So our first guest today is one of my favorite local small businesses and our South Tampa community, Glow Spray Tan. Mary Jane Bischoff is joining us today. Thank you, Mary Jane. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. One of my favorite places, years ago, I've always enjoyed being we all look better with a tan. Right. And unfortunately, I spent probably too much time in the sun years ago and then really enjoyed tanning beds. I can remember being in high school and going to and doing tanning beds. Actually, during spring break, I grew up in Indiana. During spring break, all the kids went to Florida. And I went to Denver to spend time with my father. And I don't know if many people know, but like in April, it snows in Denver. So I spent my whole spring break in the tanning bed. So that way I could go back to Indiana, back to Indianapolis, and I'd have a tan, just like all the kids that went to Florida. And they're like, "Oh, what beach did you go to?" I'm like, "Oh, Denver. It's Aspen."
Denver Beach.
But that was my trick back in those days. But as we get older, when I think younger, I think I guess I got a little wiser or smarter as I've gotten older. But spray tanning is definitely preferred by most doctors. And the best way to go is as far as providing some color to us. Tell us a little bit about some of the services that you offer. I know right now you're probably out, everybody's kind of in downtime, but on a typical business day, what tell us a little bit about Glow.
Well, like you said, everybody, they like to be tan. It makes you feel healthy. It helps hide unwanted things that we don't like. But you also, like you said, want to do it in a healthy way. The last thing you want to do is use the tanning beds or, spend too much time in the sun, because that's going to, possibly be skin cancer, age spots, sunspots, premature aging. So what we like to do is offer a healthy alternative. So when you come in, we have such a wide variety of undertone options so that no matter what your skin tone is or what your goal is, we are able to create that for you. So we sit down with everybody and, spend some time talking, and then we'll spray you and you're good to go.
Yeah, and definitely, again, highly recommend YouGlow Spray Tan. It's interesting. We had Jim Flynn, who is operations treasurer of South Tampa Dermatology, was on the show last week, and he was just talking about the different spots and the things that sunspots and aging spots that the sun causes ultimately that they catch there at South Tampa Dermatology. I think it's like anything. We often don't realize the damage that the sun can do, or maybe we do, or we don't want to accept it. But you definitely offer a solution without the having to worry about the age spots or some of potentially skin cancer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're still able to go out and feel confident in your swimsuit because we're able to give you a healthy, natural glow. That's what's important is, a lot of people are afraid of being orange or too dark. Here at YouGlow, I mean, we focus on more of that natural look, and sometimes taking it down a notch creates more of that natural look.
Yeah. And no, you're not orange at all. And that was kind of, I think, a lot of the preconceptions of, that people had is that you're discolored in some way. But, it's amazing. You can go in, even doing the booth that you offer just for, you're there 5 minutes in and out. And, and it's not something that takes time. It's immediate gratification. Who doesn't love that? Right?
Yeah, and the booth is a lot quicker. We do other services other than custom spray tan. Like Kelly was saying, we have the Versa Pro booth, and we're actually able to customize our booth over 50 different ways. So even if you choose to do the booth over a custom spray tan, we're still going to take that time and make sure your results look natural.
And how many years now? How many years have you been there?
YouGlow has been there since 2012. And then me and my business partner have owned it since 2015.
Wow, so just about 5 years now. Time goes so fast.
Yeah.
And great South Tampa location. You're right there on Azeel. How, again, I want to keep our conversation positive and kind of more on the upbeat, but how have you guys been affected? Like, what are you going through now? I imagine you're closed temporarily through this shutdown. So how has that affected you guys? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like everybody else, we're just trying to hang in there and offer, help to some of our clients. We sell a lot of awesome self-tanners that you can do at home. So we've been mailing those out, and I've actually been doing FaceTime with different clients to show them how to apply the self-tanners so you don't have the orange hands and the orange wrists. So we've been working a lot with that, and just trying to support the local businesses around us. I mean, we all share clientele and, just trying to be there for each other.
Yeah. Hopefully, we're getting to at least a point, hopefully at least in the next week or two, where we'll see some of the businesses start to reopen and start to function. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a new type normal for a while, but it, I guess anything's a start, just taking that first step of getting back. Mm-hmm. You mentioned like helping people with self-tanners and kind of doing it themselves. I love that you're providing just an alternative for now. I think you and I were joking. We were talking the other day. I said, I might be quarantined at home, but I've got to look at myself in the mirror. Every time I walk by, you want to feel good about yourself, no matter if it's just you or you're going out. So at least having that opportunity to there's
a lot of people too that are working from home, but they're working virtual.
Right.
So there's still, there's models still needing to model. I know that, a lot of the cheerleaders, they're coming up on, practice. There's a lot of people just working, and they want to have some color, they don't want to look like they've been quarantined.
Right. What is typically your busiest season? Is it spring, like during prom? Would it be summer because of like June weddings?
Usually spring, because we have spring break, prom, but our biggest is going to be weddings. It's a huge time for wedding season here. So yeah, usually the spring is our busiest.
So, and we've talked about this on the show before too. Just, I think South Tampa specifically, we do see a downtime with businesses in the summertime. Many people, well, pre-coronavirus, many people traveled, schools were out, and you would see. So, do you think as we progress into reopening that we'll see people kind of, how do you look at business this summer? I mean, with things reopening.
To say. I'm not sure. I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to going on a vacation, especially parents who are teaching their kids from home.
Right. They may do quick getaways. I don't see people jumping or getting, to get on an air flight anytime soon to really go anywhere. I think it's going to take us some time to be okay with being that close to people. I don't know. I could be. I'm wrong often, so I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we all are hoping for the best, and like I said, just see what happens.
What made you want to go into spray tanning? You mentioned that you and your business partner have owned it since 2015. What was your interest or your passion that brought you into that?
I like the idea of helping people, and I know it sounds weird that a spray tan is going to help someone, but
it definitely does.
You get to see how people feel much more confident, and they smile, and I see them out on social media taking selfies, and I like the idea of making people feel happy, but I also love that it's a healthy alternative. Like I said, I'm one of those people that I'm very strict to take care of myself, and I also want to tan, so I like that I can offer that to people.
Yeah. And how long do the spray tans typically last? Like, depending on if you do the booth versus like manual spray tans, how long do they usually last, or how often do you recommend people come in?
Well, what's really important for a spray tan to last is how you prep. Schedule with us. We'll send you out some prepping instructions. That's going to be key for your spray tan lasting. So typically an average spray tan is 7 to 10 days. Sometimes you can get to 2 weeks. But yeah, we'll go over, the maintenance for aftercare. So if you follow all those rules, you should definitely get close to the 10 days.
What was I going to ask? Oh, we had talked with, and that's what I was going to say. One of the great things that I love about YouGlow is not right now because obviously everything's closed, but typically you have a membership program to where people, your clients and members are able to come in regularly throughout the month, and you have even, I want to say, scheduling online typically as well, where it makes it convenient for everyone to schedule, and it's just so convenient for people and very affordable for people to get a part of. So as we look to reopen and get into some type of normal again, I highly recommend your membership opportunities there as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you can book online. Just email us and we'll send you the link to sign up. The booth is great. You can make an appointment. Like Kelly was mentioning, we have memberships, packages. So there's a lot of options. And right now we're running a bunch of specials where you can buy now, use later. And I'm sure we're going to keep doing that all the way through the summer just to help people out.
Right. That's a great idea. And you mentioned some of the products, the self-tanners that you were promoting as well. Are those available on your website, or how can the community find those?
So I would say follow us on social media, especially Instagram. We post all of our products on there. We talk about each one, and you could always message us or give us a call or email, and I could get one of those in the mail, or I can meet you and you could pick it up. But yeah, probably social media is going to be your best option.
And we've talked about social media before. I know a lot of your clientele and members comes from, I know you do a lot of business on Instagram. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how you've kind of got started with Instagram and being successful through Instagram.
Well, I've never really used Instagram myself until the last few years. I noticed that it's very important when it comes to owning a business. I feel like you can really interact with your clients, especially on a more personal level. And I feel like that has really grew us a lot.
How often are you engaged on Instagram? Are you on there daily talking about your products or doing, showing how you're applying some of the self tanners, or how does that work? Do you have like a social media schedule each week that you go by?
Yeah, I mean, we switch it up. Right now, since things have been slower, we're not posting as much. But once we're back up and running, a lot of clients love to tag us, so we always share the photos.
And what is that?
A lot about, what's that?
What did you say they like?
Oh, they love sharing their photos after we sprayed them. So yeah, we post those. We talk a lot about the solutions we use and the quality of the ingredients. So yeah, and then we also post a lot of specials and different things that we're doing.
Well, it's interesting because I talk to business owners so often, we're talking about their different methods. I think depending on products and services, everything works a little bit differently for them. So it's interesting. And as far as the different social platforms go, Instagram, I think, was your favorite, right? Or your most, that you've had the most success on.
Yeah, definitely Instagram. There's a lot of young people that use Instagram too, so we're able to engage with them a little bit more.
So how do you look for, and I know, so you and Amber, who is your partner, who's co-owner of YouGlow Spray Tan, how do you see the rebound and recovery period of this? What do you think? Or have you guys talked much about like kind of the recovery stages, or like slowly opening as you get the green light to do so?
We're ready, and I think a lot of our clients are ready. I reach out to a lot of them through text message and phone calls just to check in on them, and they're just as ready as we are. So as soon as we get the go, doors are open.
And Mary Jane, tell us a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from born and raised in Cody, Wyoming.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. What brought you to Tampa?
My husband's work.
Okay. How long have you been here?
Going on 11 years.
Oh, wow. So not that's quite a while then now. And so what did you do in Wyoming, right? Wyoming.
Yes, Wyoming. I worked construction. I used to spray paint houses.
Oh, really? And now you spray tan on people.
I know, right?
What did you always know you wanted to own your own business, or was this something that, like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I've always wanted to own my own business. I grew up on a big ranch, so I, was a part of my dad, running his own business, and I tried plenty little options growing up. I tried to start my own spray or cleaning business when I was 16. I've always tried all these different things growing up, and so I'm passionate about being an entrepreneur and working for myself. Yeah,
you definitely, if you're starting a cleaning business at 16, you're definitely thinking very entrepreneurial, and it's inevitable. At that point, you're going to end up owning your own business at some point. Did you go to school, or did you go right into construction, or?
No, I actually went to school for medical billing and coding, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. So I did that, and then I realized it's like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a more hands-on person.
We're able to take a little bit of everything, right, and kind of incorporate that into what we do today. And I don't know, it could have helped some with bookkeeping, I guess, at this point. Yeah. I know it's a little different because you're talking about probably insurance type medical billing. But I don't know, might help a little bit with bookkeeping.
Yeah, I think everything along the road has been very helpful to where I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if anything, just from talking with so many business owners and community leaders over the years, our lives are like puzzles. They're always pieces of puzzles kind of coming together and forming, ultimately who we become today. So what's in the future for you personally? I mean, do you look forward to other projects or other businesses to be a part of, or what's in the plans for Mary Jane?
Yeah, I mean, I really look forward to opening up the salon again and seeing all of our clients. We've talked about opening up other locations and pitching just to grow in the Tampa Bay area. I really look forward to that.
Well, and you've been there, what did we say, 2012 was when it originally opened. So I mean, you've been through, I think, the hardest years, although, unfortunately things happen and then we have setbacks like global pandemics that who would have ever thought. But I think, I'm hopeful that a lot of the businesses that have been have been around for quite some time will definitely be able to hang in there. It is interesting as you hear about some of the businesses that have filed for bankruptcy or that are closing. I want to say, and again, I haven't looked into sources of some of the, but just some of the larger chains that I was surprised to hear from that were closing. And I mean, it's affected all of us for sure. But we are right about that, almost May point, or just about May, depending on when we air. But we're getting there. So
almost there. Yes.
I think all of us are looking for ways to pivot. And like you talked about with the online and being able to sell and utilizing Instagram, all of us have looked how to shift and pivot our business models in order to survive, and hang in there. And luckily, it's from what I know and kind of just from talking with you guys, your overhead isn't too grand, isn't too extreme to where you're able to hang in there a little easier, hopefully.
I think so. I think we'll be good, and we have a lot of support in the community, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm confident you'll be fine, and I'm not going to let you go anywhere because I definitely enjoy the spray tans as well. And again, I wasn't a big fan initially, just of spray tans in general. But I think your product, and I don't know, maybe even over the years, it's just once I was recognized with YouGlow, it was like night and day compared to any other self-tanning companies or any other places I had been. So. I don't know what you guys do, but it's definitely highly recommended for sure. Well, it's definitely, again, been a transitional period for all of us, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll get to see you and come in and visit and get back in that booth.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you again, Kelly.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate you and, being a part of Edge and, sharing your story with us today, because we are all in this together, and it's by us kind of talking. It's difficult because I talk to so many people. They all just want to open. Let us open already. Yeah. But it does sound like we're getting closer to that happening, even if it's, under certain circumstances, or I guess conditions would be a better word for now. But it looks like we're closer. So, Mary Jane, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Yeah, and so definitely check out YouGlow Spray Tan. I know we have your website and all of your information posted on there as well. So stay tuned. Don't go far. We'll be right back. We're going to be back with Jonathan Clark, Executive Coach. Be right back. Welcome back to Getting the Edge. Thank you for standing by with us, and thank you, Mary Jane, for with YouGlow Spray Tan for joining us today on the show. And again, wanted to talk with some local business owners to kind of find out exactly what they're going through and their plans for rebuilding and recovery. But also wanted to take some time to talk to some of my favorite executive leadership coaches on just how to deal with the crisis that we're in, and some recommendations on how to look forward to rebuilding and our recovery period as we get to the point here soon, hopefully, that we're focused on that. So really excited. One of my favorite people is joining with us now, Jonathan Clark, founder and senior consultant, Coriolis Consultant. Jonathan, hello. How are you?
I am terrific. Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, so you've been on the show with me before. One of my favorite interviews of all time. definitely enjoy spending time with you in any way that I can. So even through virtual, I'd much rather have you in the studio. But I'm adapting, as we all are, to our social distancing. I tell you what, after we get through this, if I never hear that word again, I will be happy. But how are you hanging in there? How are things for you? For Jonathan?
I am well. I have my own business. A lot of my work is in-person workshops around the country. So those have all been postponed, obviously. Nobody's canceled them. They're just pausing it for the time being until it's safe for us to get together again.
Well,
I still have my executive coaching clients, so we've been doing those on video or phone for years, so that hasn't changed.
Right. Well, I would think as we start to transition into a new normal, which is going to be unique for every business, I'm assuming, I would think someone with your expertise would be even more needed than ever as we figure out what a new normal is and as we work towards leading through rebound.
Well, the particular kind of consulting we do really deals with creating new futures.
Right.
And whether people like it or not, they're going to have to be creating new futures. It's
right.
just the nature of it. In fact, a lot of my clients right now have already begun that. They've had to make some hard decisions that in the past they wouldn't ever have considered. In some cases, they found more effective ways of doing business than they had thought was possible. So that's been useful. Though there were several tips that I sent out to my clients back in mid-March, and I'm about to send it out again as a reminder and there's some basic things that people can do to be effective when things are uncertain. Now, it's valid that life is always uncertain, though right now, more so than ever.
Right.
And one of the things to take into account, I suggest, is first is that we're all human, and we have something called an amygdala. For those people who don't know what that is, it's considered your fight or flight center. It's a small almond-shaped part of your brain, right in that part of your head, and it's always looking for threats, and it never sleeps, even at night. You can have what's referred to as an amygdala hijack simply if you have a bad dream. And I suggest that while amygdalas are always on alert looking for threats, now more than ever, uncertainty triggers amygdalas. So I have suggested to my clients and past participants in our programs that, first off, recognize that your amygdala hijacks are a natural human tendency. There's nothing wrong with them. But knowing that, you might just pay attention that you might get worried a little more than normal. You might get annoyed a little quicker than you usually do, or angry faster than normal. And not only for you, but be very clear that just about everybody you interact with, clients, customers, family, friends, everybody's amygdala is more on alert now than ever. So that was one of the first things I suggested people pay attention to. So knowing that it's a natural human tendency, give yourself a little more space if you find yourself, getting caught up in the worries and the drama that your brain generates.
And it doesn't stop generating drama. And like you said, I mean, this more than normal now. I think we're all being hijacked mentally. Dealing with uncertainty triggers that for sure. Even more so.
And some of the whether people like him or not, people watching any of Donald Trump's briefings will have some kind of strong reaction to it. Mostly those are amygdala reactions.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself spending time thinking about what the government should or shouldn't be doing, be very clear that's going to be ineffective for you. You're spending time thinking about what they should or shouldn't be doing makes no difference in the world.
Well, and we
have no control. It just leaves you being ineffective with what you have in front of you.
Right.
So simply because amygdalas are going to be more on alert now, your brain's going to be generating more drama than it normally does. I suggest the second tip I gave people is see if you can spend more time dealing with what's real, the facts of the matter, rather than getting caught up in the shoulds and shouldn'ts and what ought to be happening. No, deal with what's happening. A friend of mine said the other day, we were out, this was back before we were actually playing golf, which is a really great social distancing participation anyway.
Yeah.
And he asked me how it was affecting my business. And I said, well, I still have my executive coaching clients, but all of the in-person workshops have been postponed. And he said, oh, that must be very frustrating. And I said, well, I think it would be very ineffective for me to spend time thinking about something that shouldn't be, rather than dealing with what is. So right now, if you're going to be effective in what's going on right now, that's going to happen dealing with the facts of the matter, what is, rather than what our brains tell us should or shouldn't be. But trackable, that makes sense?
Absolutely. It's easier said than done, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many years of training does it take to get to the point where you think, oh, I need to focus. I mean, you know what I mean? Exactly what I'm trying to say. It's difficult to train and I guess it's like anything you want to master in our lives, right? I mean, you have to practice and practice. Yes. And someone may not think of this as something you practice, like basketball or being good in gymnastics or whatever it may be, but whatever skill you're trying to master, this is just the same.
Exactly. And people who spend a lot of time getting caught up in their thoughts are good at it. They've practiced that. And right now, that'll probably be worse for them. They will experience more stress and suffering. But the stress and suffering comes from getting engaged with that internal conversation rather than dealing with the facts of the matter. In fact, one of the practices I have for my clients, if they're in a difficult meeting, now on Zoom or whatever it is, if they're in a difficult meeting and they find themselves getting agitated, just point your attention at something that exists out here that's real, whether it's a glass of water or a pencil or something. Just point your attention at something that's actually real, and you'll notice that your brain starts calming down. People who meditate, that's the point of meditation, is not to stop your thoughts, but to start practicing not getting caught up in them, actually allowing them. And if you really want to get into it, there was a guy named Siddhartha 2,500 years ago who sorted this all out. And Hermann Hesse wrote a really great book about Siddhartha. We call him the Buddha, who actually sorted out how to allow his thoughts and his cravings without getting caught up in them. So it does take practice. And I do have a suggestion for people that might support the calming down of their anxious brain. And I discovered this years ago, back when I was teaching tennis. And I had a coach who suggested that the way I taught tennis was kind of rigid. Like I taught tennis, quote, the way she said it, the right way. And it didn't leave a lot of room for self-expression, either on my part or on my students' part. And she said to me, she says, one of the things I know about you, whether you're teaching tennis or you're coaching someone in life skills, is you're committed to making a difference. And I said, yeah, that's valid. I'm committed to making a difference in the world. And she said, okay, so I have a practice I'd like you to take on for the next few weeks. When you go out to teach tennis, before you walk on the court, ask yourself the question, what would making a difference look like now? And then go teach tennis, rather from the answers you have, but inside the question, what would making a difference look like now? And I found that it was very freeing, operating inside of a question. I found myself inventing new ways of teaching topspin forehands, or how to hit a drop shot, or even the strategy of the game. And it was way more fun for my students and myself. And over the years, I actually developed whole new ways of teaching tennis that were way more effective than anything I had learned to do. So over the years, I've taken it on, particularly in times of uncertainty back in the the 2008 financial crisis, and other times where I'm in uncertainty when my daughter was born, is I have this practice I take on of living inside of a powerful question. So for my clients right now, a couple of the questions that they use in their meetings as they walk into their meeting, either inside of a question is what's going to work now? So rather than looking for the answers or trying to find certainty, no one knows how this is going to turn out. No one knows, even if there is going to be, quote, a new normal. It is going to be different. That is valid. And to be effective and dance with whatever's coming, I find it much more freeing to live inside of a powerful question. So such as, what's going to work now? And by the way, you may discover something that works now, and an hour later, something happens, and that's no longer valid, and you've got to discover a new what's going to work now. The question I personally am living inside of these days is, what does being of service look like right now? So I get on a client call, or I'm looking at my week and what I'm planning for the future, and I do it inside of the question, what will being of service look like now? And I find it very freeing to come up with new possibilities for engaging with the world.
It's such an interesting technique. And one of the, as you started to elaborate, thank you, because I was going to ask you to elaborate more on operating inside a question. And, we have limited time today, but I wanted to mention Jonathan had been on the show with us, and I'm trying to think back when, I don't know, but you can go through the website and look, and we had a whole hour with Jonathan. So I think you definitely would recommend, I recommend everyone listening, because we had a lot more time to pick his brain through that. That's one of the things that I very much enjoy talking with you about, because you remind me just how to phrase certain situations and how to look at them. And again, we're all, we're a work in progress, but getting there, operating inside a question. So, and you recommend doing this every moment, right? I mean, every day it's thinking about, so you're not just going about your day to go about it. You're going about it with something in mind. So just elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, when I wake up in the morning, like most human beings, I wake up. The most common things that human beings wake up with is either I didn't get enough sleep last night, or I don't have enough time to do everything I have to do today. And those conversations are automatic and past-based, and they're not very useful. They actually tend to constrain people and leave them either frustrated or stressed. So I find that it's useful to live inside of a created conversation, something I'm committed to. So for instance, being of service. And whether I'm going to go have dinner with my family later today, I walk out and have a conversation with my family of what would being of service look like now with my family. And it's and sometimes I'm listening and sometimes I'm speaking, but it's not preordained. It's not coming from an answer about something. Look, I don't know how all this works. However, we're intelligent human beings. Well, most of us are intelligent human beings. Some of us are intelligent human beings, but we can figure it out. We figured out other things before, and we have way more information about how this virus works than at any time in history. There was a great video I saw by Yuval Harari the other day talking about the impact of COVID-19 on human culture. It was on YouTube, so if you want to look that up. It was he's a bright guy. He talks about what's possible for us.
Say the name of that again.
Yuval Noah Harari. He's the author of the book *Sapiens*.
Okay.
Bestseller book about human culture over the last 70,000 years. So he did a who's the guy who does the Late Late Show? I can never remember his name, but he was a guest with on the Late Late Show.
Aren't they all Jimmy or something?
From the book *Sapiens*. Yep, that's the book. Perfect.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, great. What? Okay, well, I'll let you go ahead. It's just interesting because I think so many of us are waking up and going about our day like, oh my God, how am I going to do this today? How am I going to, employ the staff? How am I going to make this happen? These are such uncertain times, and I'm sure they're using much more harsher words than what
yes.
I'm doing now. But I think, you're recommending, or with your way, it's obviously taking more control over the outcomes and our day, period, and our own method or way of thinking, and framing a question versus an outcome, an undesired outcome that we don't want.
Yeah. So, for instance, it's very natural and normal for most human beings to go through life looking at things as either right or wrong. And sometimes that's useful. But oftentimes, whether it's right or wrong isn't the point. Maybe the point is it working or is it not working? That might be a more effective place to operate from. So, because whether it's working, whether it's right or wrong, is looking at the current circumstances from a past-based perspective. And I got to tell you, no one's been in this situation before. No one. Even if there was somebody alive during the Spanish flu, this is completely different. I also am heartened that while obviously it's a serious situation for a great many people, this is probably the first time in history that humanity has come together inside of a single conversation. This didn't even happen during World War II. For the first time in human history, almost all of humanity is engaged in the same conversation. We are uniting about this. And while there may be certain lack of wisdom among certain government elements, we have more information about how to deal with this effectively than at any time in history. And looking across the country, how many people are coming together to take care of each other.
Right.
So what won't work right now is looking to see whose fault it is and who's to blame and what's wrong. What we need are thoughtful people looking at what's going to work now.
Right.
And that's what I encourage people to take on and live inside the question. What's going to work now? What's going to work for my family? What's going to work in the business? Rather than who's at fault, who's to blame, and who can I get for this? That will not be useful in any way, shape, or form.
No, and it seems like that's society's way, is always pointing the finger and looking for blame, and instead of just working together and just making things happen and moving forward.
Yeah, I'll share a little thing what I mean about communities coming together. We have the social distancing going on. About a week and a half ago, one of the neighbors down the street, somehow she had gotten a bunch of colored chalk in the shape of eggs, and she put them in lots of different baggies with a note that asked all the neighbors to come out on Saturday morning a week ago at 10:30 and just color something. It was on Easter Sunday. And everybody in the neighborhood came out and were coloring different designs on their sidewalk and chatting from a distance. I got to tell you, our community came together in those several hours that day, more than I've seen them do ever since I've been living here. Mm-hmm. And I've heard from other people that kind of thing is happening all across the country. People are coming together in partnership. So let's focus on partnership. And just to reiterate, what would be a powerful question for you to live your days inside of while you're dealing with the uncertainty of the future?
And it's almost, is it, well, I was just going to say, it creating the outcome, the positive outcome that you want. And that's kind of where you get into more of the desired outcome. But anyway, I don't want to get we have limited time, so I don't want to get too much into it. But
well, here's the thing is, sometimes it's okay to not have a worked out plan. And right now, nobody knows what it's going to be like 6 months from now, let alone a year from now. So maybe this would be a great time to practice living and dealing with what's actually happening now, and still be committed to having your life work, having your business work, even though you're going to have to invent new ways to have that happen. It's I think complete new structures.
Yeah. As business owners and CEOs and executive leaders, I mean, we're all, I think, conditioned to pivot and look for new ways, and to maneuver and succeed, and for our teams to succeed. But I think it does go with, focusing on what we can control and how we can better our businesses versus what we have no control over, and then we just set ourselves up to be upset because we have no control.
That was really well said. A lot of people spend their time trying to focus on things they have no control over, People worry about the weather. You can't control the weather. Deal with what the weather is. And complaining about the government right now will not support the government in being more effective. Work on what's in front of you. Take care of the people around you.
Well, I think
that'll make a difference.
And it's so, life is stressful as it is. Dealing with a global pandemic is stressful. I try to focus on, and you've helped some with that too, but focus on what I can learn and how I can grow through this experience, and just focus on what's right in front of me. I limit the amount of news and media, different things that are out there. I have to, because even down to Facebook, whatever it may be, I have to limit what I take in. But otherwise, you want to keep, a good sense, and you have to be careful.
Yeah, here's the last thing I would leave you with is everybody has a contribution to make. Maybe now's a good time to think about what's the contribution. If you could actually create the contribution that you're committed to making, like on your shows, bringing people together through information. If you could just take some time and if it was up to you, what kind of contribution you're committed to making, what contribution would that be?
Yeah, that's great. We're just about out of time, but Jonathan, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to having you back again soon. Again, I always learn so much from you. We have all of Jonathan's information on the website. Definitely reach out to Jonathan for further information regarding Coriolis Consulting. And until next time, never stop dreaming. We'll see you soon.
All right, this week we're going to talk about something exciting as usual.
We always have something exciting.
Yes, we do.
At least it's exciting to us.
But this is a question that comes up.
TV, hey, it's Friday night. We're not here. Yes, we pre-recorded once again because WeBeam TV is working over in Tampa with Dancing with the Stars.
62 Who Knew. I almost said Professional Mortgage Alliance, Joe's Bar and Grill. But actually, it's our 39th week of 62 Who Knew.
We're at the wonderful steampunk event at the Verizon Event Center here in 2019. I think it's still August, right? Yeah. Woo! Can't remember anymore. Ask an attorney about flooring law.
Yes.
To be able to help businesses to do that part of it. But it's just been a couple of years.
Well, and I've taken the business card files from our business cards and saved them.
Entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay, welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections
Ian
for
Beckles on Radio Influence.
Or you say left hand white, and then they catch the left hand white. What it does, it helps you quick with hand-eye coordination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of... your super connector. We want to introduce you to our 50-plus show partners. We got over 80 categories of expert contributor advice here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we want to...
That's where we disagree, but that's okay.
I said nonviolent.
That's okay.
Because, you know, we're one of the only states that don't give them back the right. I've got Jamie Limbaugh. He is from the Next Step Image. I love that name because you were telling me earlier.
For the type of republic we actually are is actually very correct. Yet politicians and regular people use these words interchangeably, even though technically they are very different.
You're an overdoer, overachiever, people pleaser, we tend to neglect ourselves. And even as Sisters Connected here, you know, with Women Unscripted, I know.
All right, this week we're going to talk about something exciting as usual.
We always have something exciting.
Yes, we do.
At least it's exciting to us.
But this is a question that comes up.
TV, hey, it is Friday night. We're not here. Yes, we pre-recorded once again because WeBeam TV is working over in Tampa with Dancing with the Stars.
62 who knew. I almost said Professional Mortgage Alliance Joe's Bar and Grill, but actually it's our 39th week. 62 who knew.
We're at the wonderful steampunk event at the Verizon Event Center here in 2019. I think it's still August, right? Yeah. Woo! Can't remember it.
Yes. To be able to help businesses to do that part of it. But it's just been a couple years.
Well, and I've taken the business card files from our business cards.
Entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay, welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections
Ian
for
Battles on Radio Influence.
Or you say left hand white, and then they catch the left hand white. What it does, it helps you quick with hand-eye coordination. Yeah.
Well, that's kind
as your super connector. We want to introduce you to our 50-plus show partners. We got over 80 categories of expert contributor advice here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we want to...
That's where we disagree, but that's okay.
I said nonviolent.
That's okay.
Because, you know, we're one of the only states that don't give them back the right. I've got Jamie Limbaugh. He is from the Next Step Image. I love that name because you were telling me earlier.
For the type of republic we actually are is actually very correct. Yet politicians and regular people use these words interchangeably, even though technically they are very different.
You're an overdoer, overachiever, people pleaser, we tend to neglect ourselves. And even as Sisters Connected here, you know, with Women Unscripted, I know.
All right, this week we're going to talk about something exciting as usual.
We always have something exciting.
Yes, we do.
At least it's exciting to us.
But this is a question that comes up.
TV, hey, it is Friday night. We're not here. Yes, we pre-recorded once again because WeBeam TV is working over in Tampa with Dancing with the Stars.
62 who knew. I almost said Professional Mortgage Alliance Joe's Bar and Grill, but actually it's our 39th week. 62 who knew.
We're at the wonderful steampunk event at the Verizon Event Center here in 2019. I think it's still August, right? Yeah. Woo! Can't remember anymore.
To be able to help businesses to do that part of it. But it's just been a couple years.
Well, and I've taken the business card files from our business cards and changed them.
Entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay, welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections
Ian
for
Beckles on Radio Influence.
Or you say left hand white, and then they catch the left hand white. What it does, it helps you quick with hand-eye coordination. Yeah.
Well, that's kind
As your super connector, we want to introduce you to our 50-plus show partners. We got over 80 categories of expert contributor advice here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we want to.
That's where we disagree, but that's okay.
I said nonviolent.
That's okay.
Because, you know, we're one of the only states that don't give them back their rights. I've got Jamie Limbaugh. He is from the Next Step Image. I love that name because you were telling me earlier.
For the type of republic we actually are is actually very correct. Yet politicians and regular people use these words interchangeably, even though technically they are very different.
You're an overdoer, overachiever, people pleaser, we tend to neglect ourselves. And even as Sisters Connected here, you know, with Women Unscripted, I know